Waco, how we doing today? I feel like the future governor of Texas can get a little bit more hype than that. Are we ready for Baylor? Much better. My name is Bryce Henry. I'm one of the student fellows at Baylor for Beto. And it is my honor to welcome all of you here today. Thank you so much for coming out. We got a couple special guests in the audience today. We have Mark Hayes from the McLennan County Democratic Party. We've got Mary Mann from the McLennan County Democrats and Democratic Women of Central Texas. We've got Aaron Shank, candidate for the Texas House. We've got Judge James Lee. We got Hope Balfa Mustaqim from the Waco Immigrants Alliance and Change Waco. We have former Representative John Mabry. We have Kelly Palmer from City of Waco. We have Mary Duty, the former county chair. Jeremy Davis from Waco ISD. And Lyndon Nash, the chair of the Bell County Democrats. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. I'm going to pass the mic to Peyton from College Democrats at Baylor.
How are y'all? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Peyton. I'm the president of College Democrats at Baylor. Y'all should come join us. We're really cool. Yeah. Who here is not from Texas like me? I'm from Georgia. Nice. Cool. So do y'all know that if you are not from Texas, you can still register to vote here. If you're on campus, you use your One Bear Place address when you sign up. If you live off campus, use whatever address that is. But y'all can still register. Y'all can still vote for Beto. Do that. We've got people in the back who can help you all afterwards. They're waving. They'll help you get registered. It's not hard, and then you can and vote for Beto. Awesome. I'm going to pass the mic on to Shania, and yeah.
Thank y'all all so much for coming out today. Hi everyone, my name is Shakina, and I'm also a student fellow here at Baylor University. I'm beyond excited to have Beto here in Waco with us today. I don't know if y'all are though. Are y'all pretty excited? Even though we aren't on campus, it still looks like we have, I think, at least like 2 people, right? Yeah, I think so. So some things about me. So I'm originally from the Dallas area, so I think I know a little bit about Texas politics. What I do know is that it's past time for new leadership in Texas. What do y'all think? Our current governor has failed us time and time again, and we need change now. He's enacted the most restrictive abortion policy in the country, and he's failed to keep the lights on. Why can't we keep the lights on? I think that's pretty simple. He's broken promises to millions of Texas residents around the state, and he has failed to keep kids safe in their own classrooms. There's a reason we're ranked 50 out of 50 out of the states on mental health resources. Is that okay? No! There is literally no reason why we should keep someone who doesn't do their job in office. Abbott can be fired on November 8th, and we as students can make sure that happens. We need change, and we need change now. This is why I'm so beyond excited to introduce our next governor of the great state of Texas.
Waco, Baylor, how you doing? Good to be with you. So grateful to be back. I think this is our 7th visit to Waco since this campaign started. You all are important to us, and I want to know that this kindness with which you welcome us means the world to us. We've been on the road for a very long time, for the better part of a year, going to one community, one county after another, showing up for everyone, everywhere, writing nobody off and taking no one for granted, right? And I want you to know we get a lot of love from you, and I want you to know that I love you right back. I love you if you're a Baylor student. I love you if you're not a Baylor student. I love you if you're straight. I love you if you're gay. I love you if you're transgender. I love you if you are an 8th generation Texan, and I love you if you got here 8 years ago from another country, okay? I just love that we are not going to define ourselves based on our differences. If you're a Republican, I want you to know that you're in the right place. Democrats, you are welcomed here as well. Independents, we are glad you came. And those who are supporting us, thank you. And those who oppose us, that's okay too. The beauty of this amazing democracy, 246 years into an experiment that is really the exception in the whole of human history and on the planet today, is that we can peacefully disagree and resolve those differences at the ballot box when we win this election on the night of November 8th. You all with me? And here's how I know that we're going to win. Because all of us together, you and I, are fighting to make sure that every woman makes her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care. We are going to make sure that we prioritize the lives of our kids ahead of the interests of the NRA, the gun lobby, or anyone else. And those classroom teachers who we ask to sacrifice so much, like Mary Duty's daughter, who are underpaid by nearly $10,000 a year in this community against the national average. They are working 2 and 3 jobs to try to make ends meet. We ask them to perform to a high stakes, high pressure, standardized test that will never effectively measure the performance of that child or the effort expended on his behalf by that teacher. We make them jump through hoops. We tell them they can't teach history because we're afraid of this graduate level course called CRT that's never been taught in an elementary school before. We want them to now turn in the parents of transgender kids and turn those children over to CPS, the worst run foster care program in America. And today, we're now asking those teachers who already sacrificed the best years of their lives for these kids to think about sacrificing their very life when a gunman walks into that classroom. So here's what I propose. Let's make sure that we pay those teachers enough just to have one job, focusing on those kids in front of them. Let's make sure that we treat them with respect, listen to them when they say this is the best way that I can connect with these kids, and so we cancel the STAR test in the state of Texas. Take common sense measures that allow us to defend the Second Amendment while better protecting the lives of those teachers and the kids in the classrooms. How about, at a minimum, raising the age of purchase for an AR-15 to 21, a universal background check, and a red flag law, right? It just says if you already have that gun and you're threatening to use it against someone else, we're going to step in before it's too late and save some lives. I think we can get that much done. Or how about this? What about some common sense, bipartisan solutions to some of the challenges that we have? Right now in this state, we are the least insured state in the union. That means that more kids die of diabetes here, a totally preventable death, than in any other state. It means that our largest provider of mental health care services is the county jail system. So many with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, clinical depression, unable to find access to health care, literally try to get arrested on purpose to be taken to the county jail because it's the one place they're guaranteed any kind of care, however insufficient and immoral that might be. Well, there's an answer to that. We can expand Medicaid, bring $10 billion into our communities every year, stand up some of these rural hospitals that have been closed down on Greg Abbott's watch, ensure that we connect more people with more care, and the kicker is we can reduce property taxes in the bargain. You all down for this? Well, if that wasn't good enough, let me lay this one on you. Another group of people that all of us here love, and it doesn't matter if you're for me or against me, are those women and men who served our country in uniform. Anyone willing to lay down their lives for the United States of America, who swore an oath not to the president in power, not to a political party, but to the Constitution and this great democracy, has our undying respect and gratitude, and we must manifest it beyond the words that we use or the thank you for your service. Let me explain. In this great state that boasts a $2 trillion economy. It's the 9th largest economy on the planet today. Tonight, there will be veterans sleeping on the side of the road, on park benches, underneath bridges, by the hundreds across the state of Texas. I propose that we pay any price, bear any burden to make sure every single one of those who served us has a roof over their head, connection to the care that they need, the ability to get on with their lives and continue to serve in whatever capacity. Those exposed to toxic burn pits, I want to make sure that we set up a toxic burn pit registry in the state of Texas to connect them with that care that will literally save their lives. And speaking of which, I have listened to so many veterans in this community who told me that, Beto, I came back from Vietnam or Iraq or Afghanistan or Somalia or Yemen or Syria or all of these places. We send our young women and men to do this country's bidding, to be willing to lose their lives and all too often to take the lives of others in the name of this country. And they say, when I come back with this service-born disability and I finally get into the VA, they're all too happy to prescribe me an opioid to which I may become addicted, and that addiction I may die from, as have tens of thousands of our fellow Americans, including far too many veterans. But so many of them tell me there is something else that I can use that relieves my symptoms, increases my appetite, allows me to sleep at night, but to use it in this state is to be a criminal in the eyes of the law. That's why I propose that we legalize marijuana in the state of Texas going forward. And because we know this, that all Texans of all ethnicities and races use marijuana at the same rate, but disproportionately, black and brown Texans will be stopped, will be frisked, will be arrested, will be incarcerated for possession, upon release, forced to check a box on every employment application form saying that they have a conviction, functionally unable to qualify for the student loans that would allow them to attend Baylor or any other university here of higher learning in the state of Texas. In addition to legalizing, we must expunge the arrest records of anyone who has served time for possession of a substance that is legal in so much of the rest of this country. We can get that done. But beyond all of that, I know that we're going to win because we're doing this together. Republican, Democrat, no me importa, all of us together standing up for this state, regardless of the differences that we will never again allow to divide us. And we're also running against Greg Abbott, who may or may not be the worst governor ever to serve the state of Texas. I'm not sure. You tell me. Let me give it to you by the numbers. 1 month ago, the most extreme abortion ban in the country that he signed into law came into effect. There is no exception at all for rape. No exception for incest. I noticed the clapping stopped over here. It begins at conception, and it's taking place in a state that has one of the highest rates of maternal mortality in the United States of America, 3 times as deadly for black women in this state. We are losing them at a frightening rate, and I guarantee you, this total abortion ban that doesn't just make it impossible for a woman to access an abortion, but nearly as impossible to get a cervical cancer screening or to see a family planning provider or just to see a doctor of any kind, especially in our rural, underserved communities across this state. It is a death sentence for far too many of our fellow citizens. But I want to tell you this, lest anybody be tempted to despair. Abortion was just as illegal in Texas 50 years ago today. But no one rode to the rescue of Texas women. No one came here to save the day. In fact, it was Texas women like Jane Roe of Roe versus Wade, her 2 Texas attorneys, Linda Coffey, Sarah Weddington, those 3 Texas women prevailed upon an all-male United States Supreme Court and won protection for the right to privacy so that women in this country, not just in Texas, could make these very personal, very often painful decisions. Here's my bet. If Texas women won that protection 50 years ago, then Texas women are going to win it back again in 2022. We are going to do this. Here's another number for you. 18 weeks. 18 weeks ago, 19 kids and their 2 teachers were taken from us. No match for someone who walks into their classroom with a firearm that was originally designed and sold to the United States military to kill enemy soldiers in Vietnam. That AR-15 is designed to knock an enemy soldier down dead at 500 yards. That high-impact, high-velocity round should be able to penetrate a steel helmet at that distance and just liquefy everything inside the human body, whether it's the brain or the body. Those kids were not at 500 yards, they were at 5 feet max. They had nothing on their heads but maybe a baseball cap. They were defenseless against that and against a governor who will not lift a finger to make sure that no other child meets the same fate as those kids. And listen, Amy and I in El Paso are raising 3 kids, a sophomore, a freshman, and a 6th grader right now, and they are very well aware that 18 weeks on, not a single thing has changed to better protect them in these classrooms, nor your younger brothers and sisters, nor any child in the state of Texas. 5 of the worst mass shootings in U.S. history have taken place in this state over the last 5 years on Greg Abbott's watch. It's Sutherland Springs, it's Midland, Odessa, it's Santa Fe High School, it's my hometown of El Paso where I lost 23 neighbors in a matter of minutes in a city so peaceful that we don't lose 20 people to murder over the course of an entire year. And now it is Uvalde. It's only going to stop when we change who is in power. And when we do, I tell you what, no longer will gun violence be the leading cause of death for kids and teenagers in this state. No longer will our children or our teachers or their parents for that matter fear dropping their kids off at school and wonder to themselves if they're going to make it through the day and be alive when they pick them up at the end of the day. We have a very long, proud tradition in this state of responsible gun ownership. And all I ask is that we get back to that. Defend the Second Amendment and protect the lives of those kids in those classrooms throughout the state of Texas. We can get that done. Let me give you another number. Almost 19 months since in the energy capital of the world, you were freezing in your dorm rooms, in your apartments, and in your homes. 700 of our fellow Texans did not make it through that grid failure. They died of hypothermia. They died of carbon monoxide poisoning running that engine in their garage. They died burned up in their apartments and homes because their parents literally lit fire to the furniture to try to keep them alive, not knowing what they had started. 700 people in the energy capital of the world because the man in power could not keep the power going to the people that he was supposed to serve. And while that was happening, his buddies, the energy traders, the pipeline CEOs, their companies made $11 billion in profit, the largest transfer of wealth in Texas history. He pegged the price of electricity at its highest allowable rate. Gas soon started trading at 200 times what it had sold for the day before. Utilities like yours took billions of dollars on in debt. Others had to declare bankruptcy. All of them passed the buck onto you, and now our utility bills are as high as they have ever been, one of the greatest increases that we've seen anywhere in America. Well, there's a solution to this as well. After we win, we winterize and weatherize every part of the grid. We connect our grid, known as ERCOT, to the national grid so we can draw down power when we need it, sell it back up when we have a surplus. And then for those who stole that $11 billion from us, because it's against the law to price gouge your fellow Texans in a time of a declared emergency or disaster, we will take those bastards to court and get every single penny back for the people of Texas. Last number that I'm going to give you, and that is the number 8. 8 years that this guy has been in office. So whatever he is going to try to scare you about that is happening in Texas today, this happened on his watch. It's his desk where the buck stops, and he doesn't have much room to blame Democrats. They have a Republican majority in the legislature, which they have had for 2 decades. They control every lever of power and every statewide elected office. And so let me lay this on you, because you're going to hear from him some really scary things. If you don't have a track record, you don't have a vision, then your best bet, if you're Greg Abbott, is to try to scare people about your opponent. So you'll hear some things about defund the police. No one in their right mind wants to defund the police. What we want to do is make sure that police have full funding to keep us safe, that we fund their training so that each of us is treated equally regardless of the differences between us, including skin color, and that if an officer or a deputy abuses that position of public trust, that life and death power that they have over us, that officer who killed Botham Jean in his apartment, or a Tatiana Jefferson in her house, or those responsible for the death of Sandra Bland in Waller, Texas, and the list goes on and on and on of unarmed black Texans who were taken down by those who were sworn to protect and to serve them. Well, when that happens, we must hold them accountable. There must be justice, because without that, you do not have trust with law enforcement, and trust is fundamental to security and safety. On Greg Abbott's watch over these last 8 years, homicide in Texas is up 50%, because when law enforcement asked him not to sign permitless carry into law, which would allow anybody to carry a gun in public without a background check, without any vetting, without any training whatsoever, he turned his back on those cops, signed it into law anyhow, and now more police officers have been gunned down in the state of Texas than anywhere else in America today. The governor who promised that he was going to eliminate rape, did you all hear this when a reporter asked, "Hey governor, there's no exception for rape in this abortion ban. What are you going to do about that?" His answer, "Don't worry, we're going to eliminate rape in the state of Texas." Newsflash, more rapes have been committed in this state than in any other states in America. The ability to bring a perpetrator to justice has declined by half on his watch. There are 3,000 untested rape kits at DPS headquarters right now. He knows about that and chooses to do nothing. And in Greg Abbott's Texas, a rapist has more rights than his victim or any other woman in the state. In fact, that rapist can sue anyone who assists that victim in getting an abortion and recover a $10,000 bounty. And when you want to get to funding, the Uvalde Police Department 7 years ago asked for funding for their radios. They didn't work when they were inside of buildings, including school buildings like Robb Elementary. They repeated the request 6 years ago. The governor still said no. 5 years ago, 4, 3, 2, 1. May 24th, 2022, those officers inside of that elementary school, on the other side of that unlocked door, never got the radio dispatch from 911 that there were still children and teachers alive whose lives could have been saved because their radios were never replaced, because they never got the funding from that government. We need accountability and justice for the loss of those lives, for the way that law enforcement and DPS officers, 91 of them, state troopers on the other side of that door, acted or failed to act on that day. And we need accountability, as the governor himself says, up and down the ballot, and that means replacing Greg Abbott on the 8th of November of this year. Por el último, last thing that I want to say. The other thing that he's going to try to scare us about and distract us and deflect from his failures is on immigration. You see him trying to dominate the news cycle right now by busing migrants to Chicago, to DC, to New York. Makes the headlines, it gets him on Fox News, but it does nothing to solve any of the fundamental problems that we have at our border. Here's what I propose. If you want to come to this country, we think that's great, but you've got to follow our laws. And on our side, we're going to work to make sure that our laws follow our values, our needs, our interests, our reality in communities just like Waco. That means, why shouldn't Texas lead the way on making sure that every dreamer here becomes a citizen and contributes even more to their full potential and the success of this state? Anyone who wants to come to this country to work, there should be a safe, legal, orderly path to do that. Same if you want to join family. If you seek to claim asylum, your wait time to have your claim adjudicated today is 6 years. 6 years that you'll be in a refugee camp in Matamoros or Ciudad Juarez, awaiting for your turn to come up. 6 years with your little kid there living in squalor. I don't condone people breaking the law, but I understand why someone might not want to wait those 6 years. Let's lead the way that instead of 6 years, it is 6 weeks, and you get a clear answer from this government, yes or no. And if we do that, the only ones left crossing in between ports of entry are those who seek to do us harm. Anyone who would want to traffic fentanyl into this community or smuggle human beings. Right now, they're needles in a haystack. We remove that haystack by creating a safe, legal, orderly path for anyone who has a legitimate reason to come here. We'll be so much safer and so much more secure. And then there's this. It will no longer be left as an issue for demagogues like Greg Abbott to try to vilify and demonize immigrants, to make people feel bad about themselves or scared of their human beings. That's not the Texas way. We are so much better and bigger than that. That's why I need your help to make sure that we talk to, listen to, work with, register every eligible voter right here in Waco. Turn them out to the polls when early voting starts on October 24th and win this thing on the night of November 8th. You are with me on this? We can get this done together. There are volunteers in yellow reflective vests. They have on their clipboards opportunities to sign up, to go on these block walking shifts, to talk to your neighbors, to bring them in. You can also volunteer if one of those shifts does not work for you, and we'll call you up and find another activity or opportunity for you to join right now. I am so grateful to you, Waco and Baylor, for having us out. Thanks to those who organized this meeting. We look forward to seeing you again before we win this on the 8th. Le agradezco, muchísimas gracias, y nos vemos pronto. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
If y'all would like to stay and take a quick picture, we would love to be able to do that. The line is going to start right over here on this side. So come on up and we're just going to do a quick picture. We would love a chance to do that for y'all.